Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of positive confusion, listening to tracks that leave us a bit bewildered but certainly wanting to check more out from the band. Today we're going to be looking at a band called Atlas from the band, a track called Atlas from the band Battles. Let's dive into this and see what they're bringing to the table today. So Thompson synth. Did you see that symbol? Dude's gotta stand up to hit that thing. So odd, melodically. Oh, he doesn't have to stand up for it, but dang, it is. Interesting. What? So here's here's the deal. We have a one section track. Yeah, kind of. We do have that middle section. It's based on the same rhythms. The drums don't change much, but we do bring in new textures, certainly new timbres. Yeah, I think the bass line's the same through it. I guess at best we could say it's a variation of our A. So we have 2 minutes of A, a variation of A for about a minute, minute and a quarter, and then 40 to 60 seconds of a return back to A to wrap the song up. I don't think the structure is the most interesting part, but it is the one that makes the most sense to me. And I think that just having a foundation that I get helps me have some sort of ground to then build off of for this analysis, because this is kind of bonkers. Okay, so like the thing is, I think on the surface, this isn't that strange of a track, right? We have this bouncy bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum rhythm that is everywhere. The bass primarily plays that, jumping between a couple of notes, sometimes resting on one. The drums play that all the time on the toms. There's not a lot of cymbal work in here. I don't remember the hi-hat being used. We do have the crash cymbal that's just way up the what in the world. Um, but it's a tom and bass heavy track. And the melody is where things get weird. The foundation is very understandable, and the melody I think is even just strange on a production level. I think if we just look at what's on the sheet music, if I could see for an elongated amount of time what our guitarist is doing, I don't think it would be that strange. A single camera, one shot video of a guitar playthrough. We already have a term for this. I would love to see a guitar playthrough of this or the sheet music just to see what's going on. There's a lot of oddities in the production that make it sound odd, but what's being played isn't. For instance, our vocalist sounds very strange. A lot of that is because the melodic well, actually just the rhythmic, the fluctuation of the tone, both pitch wise and the production of it, its width and its height height and its roundness, all get modulated automatically, I'm going to assume. So I think if we removed all that and just took what the vocalist was singing, I don't think it would be that strange. So this is something I think needs to be ripped apart and be understood separately, and then put it back together to figure out why it's together. I think it's probably the best way to go about this. Because to reiterate for the final time, what is being played is not strange. What is being heard is. So what is being played is a highly repetitive track. One very short bass line, a hyper repetitive tom pattern that does include snare in some sections and uses a crash cymbal every once in a while to end a phrase. Some guitar lines that I don't know what's going on, but don't think it's too wild and probably hyper repetitive. And what I think in the vocal lines was just one sentence being repeated over and over and over and over and over again. The loop was very tight and consistently used, but what makes it what makes it sound not cyclical, same goes for the guitar, is the production. So I think I want to put that as an outline. Everybody has one job, one short idea, maybe a bar or two that they repeat ad nauseum with minor embellishments to it. There is a larger section and a quieter section, and we bounce back and forth between these two. I'm not sure if the loudness, the largeness, the bigger part is purely production or not. I think the drummer pulls in a snare in the larger section, but other than that, the rhythm's the same. The bass I don't think changes much, and like I mentioned, I don't really have a good read of what the guitar is doing to tell if it changes on a non-production level, on a performance level between these two modes. The vocals don't seem to change at all. I only heard one line coming out of them over and over and over and over. So, the general idea though is that on a performance level, nothing is happening. Now we got to shift gears onto the production. Despite what they're playing, what we're hearing is chaos. The vocals are shifting pitch and width and roundness and shape frequently. Multiple dials are being adjusted in real time simultaneously to craft this amorphous, uncharacteristic sound. There's no way to say that this is the timbre of the vocals, because within the next millisecond we will hear something extremely different. The fluctuations are fast, they're sharp, and they are consistent. We never get an end to it. And so it's really difficult to hear the vocals as anything human, which I think is fascinating because, okay, so I'm talking right now, right? Or you're listening to a vocalist sing. Um, that's always been a particular instrument. It is the most human instrument. I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of people gravitate towards vocals in music. It's very easy to connect with it. One, because it's in language, especially if you understand the language, there's already that immediate linguistic connection, but it's also a very human instrument. It's one of the few sounds we can make with our bodies that's musical. Um, and I say that musical with quotations around it because, as we talked about um, last week on the Creator Quest one, I'll put the link up there. Um, when we checked out Thomas Cannon's work, what is music and what is musical is kind of a very wide umbrella. But for this term, what's traditionally mainstream musical, the voice is one of the few things the human body can produce in that setting that would be deemed as traditionally musical. So I think people have a really easy time um, connecting with it. Now, I think it's really interesting because in recent time we've digitized the voice. We have people like will.i.am who kind of kickstarted the whole thing of overutilizing pitch correction to create a sort of digital sound to vocals. And this, of course, like I said, it kickstarted. Like, we had this huge push towards these way overtuned vocal styles, and they're still going on today. It's still a very popular thing to do with the vocals, and people haven't really seemed to be affected by it too much. It's still a human voice, albeit modified. It sounds robotic, but there's still human inflection to it. We're still singing normally and then modifying that in a way that is still musical. This, I think, is interesting because it takes that idea and ramps it up to 1,000. What if we sang normally and then digitized it, but fluctuated it in ways that are certainly not human? Is that still palpable singing? Not palpable, palatable singing. And I would say no. At least for me, it reaches a point where it's hyper distracting. And as I mentioned earlier, I used the word amorphous. It doesn't feel familiar anymore. It feels alien. The guitar does something similar but doesn't feel as out of place, and that's probably because we have a lot of music that is digital that shifts all the time. A lot of electronic music is based around this concept where you automate different aspects of an input sound, whether that's a sine wave or a bass instrument, could be something acoustic, whatever, and then you modulate it and you use automation to craft sounds. And this is something we're just very acclimated to, but it already started out as something non human. So it all comes together into a song that, to me, feels like what another species might call human music and put on, oh, I forgot to take that away, and put on a radio station when they have their human guests over. It's it's there's definitely something very normal to it. It sounds really close to something that I would call pop rock, but it's also kind of missing some core element that fits it into the traditional sense of what pop rock would be. And it comes off as something very odd. It's you know what it is? It's auditory uncanny valley, right? It's very close to being the traditional idea of pop rock with some electronic components, but it's just weird in the right number of ways to be completely off. And it's a really interesting concept to go for. You know, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? They did this on purpose. This isn't a bunch of people who are just messing with things and made this and they don't even know if it's good. Um, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm giving them the benefit of a doubt, of the doubt. They know what they're doing. This is a very intentional aesthetic, and they did it for a reason. And I don't know what it is, though. I don't want to look at this negatively and say that this was just a failed attempt to do something. I think that they bring a lot of light to some interesting details about music. So, in that sense, I don't think this is a good song, especially since I'm not sure I want to listen to it again, both on just the oddities of the sound of it, but it's also hyper repetitive, not my deal. But I do want to say that this is excellent artwork. If nothing else, then whatever that classification of artwork is, which is designed to draw specific attention to techniques or ideas through hyperbole, through hyperactualization, and showcase what something might be in the most extreme forms, as if nothing else, to create a barometer to showcase the components of this on a spectrum. For instance, looking at the vocals by itself, we have vocals with no added change to them, very human, very raw. And then we have this. And then, of course, we have stuff in between, stuff like Will I Am or just general pitch correctness. Or even pitch correctness that's done just a little bit too it's been tuned just a little too high and you lose some of the character tones in some elements of the performance. Um, and through that, we can kind of see, like I was talking about earlier, we can look at this idea of digitizing the voice um, with an endpoint. And I think that's fascinating. I can't really say that same thing about the rest of it. It just kind of is odd for oddity's sake, at least from my perspective. But I think it's an interesting conversation piece, if nothing else. talking specifically about the vocals. I'm going to hit the lyrics here, see what's going on there, and then we'll wrap this up. As I suspected, well, I said there was one line. It's a little more than that, but it is very close to just being one thing. The chorus is repeated 6 times. There's only 8 stanzas. The other 2 stanzas are verses, and they are both the same verse, with a heavy repetition in everything. The chorus says, "People won't be people when they hear this sound that's been glowing in the dark at the edge of town. People won't be people. No, the people won't be people when they hear this sound. Won't you show me what begins at the edge of town?" So there's a sound that's been crafted. It glows in the dark at the edge of town. Our narrator's curious what that is. It says, "Won't you show me what's going on over there?" They know that the sound that's being crafted, though, will change people. People won't be people when they hear this sound. I don't know. The verse goes right over my head. Singer is a crook. Whoa-ay-oh. Just some vocalization at the end of it. We say the singer's a crook. Out of the 8 lines here, it's 5 of them. The other 3 is kitchen is the cook, scissors are the barbers, the chorus full of actors. Wait. Okay, I think I might be stretching some stuff here, but bear with me. The kitchen is the cook, the scissors are the barbers. The kitchen and the scissors are tools, right? Tools cannot do the job. A kitchen without a cook isn't going to produce food. Scissors without a barber are not going to cut hair. But in this case, it says the kitchen is the cook, the scissors are the barbers. And then it says the singer is a crook. See, I'm not drawing a parallel there, though. The chorus full of actors. And then we go into the chorus. People won't be people when they hear this song. I feel like I'm right on the cusp of something, but y'all might have to let me know what's going. What's this called? It's called Atlas. All right, so here's kind of where I'm getting at, right? I'm gonna try to do this quick, so I don't know if I have any ground to stand on with this. Are they saying that the product is not crafted by people, but by tools? Is that what they're saying? The kitchen is the cook. There's no people there. The tools themselves are what's making your dinner. And the scissors are the barbers. There's no people there. The tool itself is what's cutting your hair. So in this case, the singer is a crook. The singer is not the person singing. So who is? Well, if we take this back to the song, I mentioned we don't really hear the singer much. I don't know. Well, I can hear in my mind what the singer is singing, but we don't hear that. Just like we don't hear what the guitar is playing. We hear a modification of it. And in the sense that it's not the person but the tools, are we talking about the digitization of music, which is a topic I already kind of went on about. I took this song as a really interesting work of art, extrapolating something we currently do to its most extreme form in order to showcase a spectrum of things that can happen with it. But this might seem to be speaking quite negatively about that. When did this come out? 2007. That would have been around the time that autotune began to become a phrase that people said. Incorrectly, they still do. Nobody really gets autotune, which is it's just the buzzword to say when you think vocals are overproduced, right? Oh, they're auto-tuned. I mean, it kind of irritates. I can't get on it. I will get on a whole tirade about how auto-tune is not a bad thing. Anyways, I think that's what this is. This is a song railing against the digitization of music. And so when it says people won't be people when they hear this sound, I don't think it's the people hearing the sound that aren't people. It's that when you listen to the sound, the people playing aren't what's being heard anymore. As something I had said multiple times, I don't know what the guitarist is playing because I can't hear it. And I don't know what the guitar or what the vocalist sounds like because I can't hear it. Both of those are being obfuscated by the digitization that is being triggered by the guitar, by the vocals. And so when I hear this song, I don't hear the people making it. I hear the technology, I hear the tools. And they call it a, well, they say it's glowing at the edge of town. There's a darkness at the edge of town, and this light glows inside of it. I mean, well, I was going to say, I kind of get this idea of negativity, but they straight up say the singer is a crook and just, auto-tune does not make a bad singer good. There are very few vocal modulation programs that can do that. I don't think there are very many people in the music industry who call themselves singers who don't have some skill and use technology to eke out a slight advantage. And here's the thing, there's people outside of pop who use pitch correction too. It's just kind of the normal thing to do with vocal work. It's so standardized. Um, I had a really high opinion of this. I even called it a work of art, and I still think it kind of can fit in there. But the raw negativity and lack of understanding in the lyrics completely undermine anything the music might be doing. For me, this is just, it seems to me a bitter song. A bitter song about new technology and changes in musical tastes. And they think they can bring it down to one little piece of software, so let's rail against it. And it's the same tired conversation I have with so many people. That is a disappointing revelation to make. I really hope I have a bad read on this. I hope someone can come to me and be like, no, actually, it's about this other thing, and it's not about that. And, I understand where you're coming from, but you're totally wrong, Bryan. And I really hope I see a comment like that, because these lyrics just ruin this whole track for me. Those are my thoughts on Battles Atlas. Atlas. Oh, let me know what you thought of this track. put down in the comments if you enjoyed it, anything that stood out to you, anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on. Above that, if you could, head into the description, check out the link for Linktree. You can find my music in there, a link to the Discord server, ways to support the channel, and so much more. Also, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. Man, just put me in a sour mood. I'm gonna have to take like a, what do you call it? A palate cleanse. Take a little time off before I dig into the special selection for. I don't want to go into a song with this, man. I'm bummed. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to. And have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.